Hi everybody, I'm here today with Anna Friedlander, Senior Director of Industry Solution and Strategy for Infor Fashion and Retail sector. Anna, it's always good to speak to you.
Hi, Shakir. How are you? And I'm very glad for you to invite me to be part of this speech.
With your experience and exposure in this fashion industry with Info, Anna, you're an ideal candidate to join us on this conversation today. I just want to ask you from your perspective at Info, what are some of the biggest challenges that you see that's affecting the fashion industry today?
Okay, so in terms of what we're seeing based on market, industry, and our customers, I wouldn't even call them challenges, but one of the things that we're seeing as a trend is basically digital transformation. Everyone is thinking to go digital first. Right. The second one that I would look at is how more and more people are looking at their data and looking to do data-driven insights through AI and automations. Right. Whether they're a smaller company or a bigger company, they're now not just starting to ask about it, but embarking on that journey. You also have the shift to using sustainable materials as well as looking at circularity as part of their offering to the public. You have an increase in the DTC, the direct-to-consumer. It's shifting. In the past, it used to be almost like 80-20. Now, some companies are moving even to a 50-50 model. Correct. And lastly is really the quickly changing regulations and compliance. Correct. Okay, those are what we're seeing as of today.
So these challenges, Anna, do you see them affecting, a smaller company versus a larger enterprise in different ways?
No, because the way you look at it is smaller companies, no matter what, whether they're small or large enterprises, one of the things that they're using the same type of business model. Correct. Requirements are the same, especially if they are sourcing from internationally. The requirements are the same. Whether it's a small company or a bigger company, there is that need to comply with customer requirements, now also complying with regulations. And second, the technology. So it is the same whether you are a small company or a large company. The only difference that I've seen is smaller companies tend to not invest as much in technology, but they're now looking into doing that.
But does that also prompt, because smaller companies are not looking to invest too much in technology, does it prompt a change in the business model where we see more acquisitions or more expansions of the larger units compared to the smaller units really growing organically?
It's both, right? You mentioned in that question are the smaller companies technologically challenged? And would that change their business model? No, it won't, right? So the smaller companies, no matter what, will be forced to invest in technology, depending on where they're at. Now, in terms of changing the business model, changing of business models is basically being agile based on what the consumer is looking for. Now, a change in business model can be a growth organically, which can really project a small company from a $5 million company to a $100 million company overnight. And once they hit that leverage, they're now in the position to play, how do I grow? Do I grow organically? Do I grow by acquisition? Or am I prepared to be acquired? And we do have a customer that wanted to make sure that they were technologically set before selling themselves. Right.
So you are aware now with all the work that we've done together that Fortude have come up with a solution called Ready to Wear, which is built on top of the Infor CloudSuite.
Correct.
How do you see Ready to Wear factoring in amongst these challenges, amongst these changing models, amongst the trends that we are seeing today?
So I've looked at the solution, we've worked on it together. One of the things that I would definitely say with the Ready to Wear is it's definitely powered by the Infor CloudSuite Fashion ERP, Absolutely. Which is already using the implementation accelerators. But from my understanding with what you've done and what I've seen you've done in the software, and the way you're actually positioning it in the market, is you're allowing that our solution, or I'm going to say our solution, you're allowing that to be available to smaller companies. Now that solution is also giving them a chance to have the same type of technology, to have the same type of availability and advances, as well as the value that a larger enterprise could have. So having that in place, as I look at it, you have your it's a pre-configured implementation methodology as well.
Right.
It'll allow them to actually have that same technology and eventually grow. And if they do grow organically, it is going to be using the same solution and can also expand depending on what business model they go into.
Anna, with all that we've discussed, I mean, we've got a solution. You have to invest in technology, you have to grow change, you have to be agile. What would be one tech trend that you would recommend to companies for their immediate future?
It's interesting, we talked about this a little earlier, and I don't call it the tech trend. I call it more like they need to be able to adapt quickly. Whether you are a small company with 5 people or a large company with over 2,000 or 3,000 employees, you need to be able to adapt quickly to the changing market, the changing trends, and the changing technology. But the one piece that aside from being agile, is really allowing yourselves to have the solution in place or a tool in place to help you plan your demand as accurately as possible. And speaking with the industry, and I was in a conference about a month ago, and talking to some of our customers, to some of the industry network that I have here, the companies that actually used the tools to plan properly are not worrying about the whole change and the whole change of the regulations. And that's an interesting point. And I always talked about it, and I think it was last year we did a webinar together, if I'm not mistaken, where we talked about AI and what we call the demand forecasting intelligence. And it's really it's a key factor in the success of a company.
So that's fantastic information, Anna. Thank you very much. So in essence, adaptability, agility, and intelligence, that's what's going to drive the fashion industry forward. Anna, appreciate you taking time for this as always. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
And thank you. Definitely thank you for inviting me for this session.
Thank you very much.